Good morning, students. So today we will discuss the topic foundation of the Mughal Empire. So this is your fifth chapter of history. So the things which we will discuss in this chapter are Babur, First Battle of Panipat, Humayun, Sur Sultanate, Akbar, Second Battle of Panipat, Akbar, Greatness. So in this, the first topic which we are going to discuss is the about the Babur. So he ruled from year 1526 to 1530. So the Mughal Empire in India was founded by Zagir Uddin Babur. His ancestors were Timur on his father's side and Chinganji Khan on his mother's. Babur was 11 when he inherited the small principalities of Farghanas in Central Asia. He made many unsuccessful attempts in the pursuit of this dream. He finally turned eastwards and captured Kabul in 1504. India at that time was ruled by Ibrahim Lodi. Daulat Khan Lodi, who was the governor of Punjab, invited Babur to invade India. Rana Sanga, the ruler of Mewar, wanted to put an end to the Lodi ruler. Babur defeated Daulat Khan's army in Punjab and advanced towards Delhi. After that, the next topic is the First Battle of Panipat in 1526. So, first point, Ibrahim Lodi marched from Delhi with a huge but unorganized and indisciplined army. He met Babur's small yet well trained army at Panipat on 21st April 1526. Ibrahim was defeated and his army was completely routed. Babur soon occupied Delhi and Agra. The ruling family of Gwalior presented the famous Kohinoor diamond to Babur's son Humayun. Babur later found the Mughal Empire in 1526. He made Agra his capital. Now, reason for Babur's success. Why Babur got success in the first battle of Panipat? So, first thing, he used artillery which was unknown to Ibrahim's army. Second point, his army, tough smaller, consisted of experienced soldiers and trained cavalry. Third point, Babur was a much more competent general than Ibrahim Lodi. Now, next is Humayun 1530 to 1540 and 1555 to 1556. So, first point in that, in 1530, Humayun inherited Babur's large empire. Second point, in 1555, Humayun recaptured Delhi and Agra and re-established Mughal rule in India. However, after a battle at Kannauj in 1540, he lost it to Sher Shah, who was an Afghan chief of Bihar. He died in 1556 after a fall in his library of Purana Killa in Delhi. Now next is Sur Sultanate. So it was from 1540 to 1555. So in that we are going to read about Sher Shah, and he ruled from 1540 to 1545. So first point in that, Sher Shah Shuri, whose real name was Farid, was the son of Hassan Suri, an Afghan Jagindar, means we call as landowner of Sasaram, Bihar. Now he rose from being a landholder to become the ruler of Delhi and started the Sur dynasty. He received the title Sher Khan after killing a tiger single-handedly. Sher Shah entered the service of Babur in 1527 and closely studied the Mughal military techniques. He returned to his father's Jagir at Sasaram. Sher Shah became the emperor or Shah of Hindustan. He ruled for a short period of 5 years from 1540 to 1545. His empire extended from Bengal to the Indus, excluding Kashmir. Now, next heading is about Sher Shah administration. So it was from 1540 to 1545. So Sher Shah put in place a sound system of administration. He gave two important factors: the well being of his subject and personal supervision of administration. He restored peace in the country. He treated all his subjects equally irrespective of their religious belief. Sher Shah divided provinces into sarkars. They were placed under three main officers: the officer in charge of finance, law and order, and army, the officer who collected taxes, and the Ghazi or the chief judge. The sarkars were divided into paraganas, which were further divided into villages. Then these villages were under officers who were held responsibility for any crime or default in payment of taxes. Now, land revenue. So land was carefully measured and its yield was assessed. The state share was fixed at one third of the produce. The peasant could pay in cash or kind. As a proof of assessment, each peasant was given a document, we call it as patta. The due of the state from the peasants were written in a document called Kabuliyat. His land revenue system could not be effectively implemented due to short period of his region. Sher Shah insisted that Officers should be lenient at the time of assessment of the land but strict at the time of collection of the revenue. Next is trade and commerce. So first point in that, for the promotion of trade, Sher Shah built an excellent network of roads which were provided with red houses or sarayas at regular intervals. The road had trees on either side of shade. Sher Shah introduced a new silver called the rupiah, as we use now also, which still remain the unit of Indian currency. The coins were standardized and helped in the growth of trade and commerce. Sher Shah also standardized weight and measures. So other heading in this is the military administration. Sher Shah maintained a large standing army comprising cavalry, infantry, and elephants. He continued Alauddin Khalji's system of branding of horses and maintenance of record of soldiers to check corruption. Sher Shah paid his officials and soldiers regularly in cash. He set up cantonment in various parts of the country. Sher Shah built his own tomb at Sasram, which was in Bihar. He died in a gunpowder explosion in 1545 while trying to capture a fort in Bundelkhand. His dynasty ruled until Humayun restored Mughal rule in 1555. So this was we have read up to Sher Shah. Now we will talk about Akbar, and he ruled from 1556 to 1605. So on Humayun's death in 1556, his 14-year-old son, his name was Akbar, was crowned the king. In the early days of Akbar region, Barim Khan, a trusted officer of Humayun, acted as regent. Now second battle of Panipat, which was held in 1556. The first challenge to Akbar's throne came from Hemu, who was a general of one of the later ruler of Sher Shah dynasty. Hemu occupied Agra and Delhi in 1556 after defeating and killing Hemu in the second battle of Panipat. Barim Khan reoccupied Delhi and Agra. He brought most of the India under his control. Now we are talking about Rajput states. So Akbar used diplomacy and merit to make the powerful Rajput chief his allies. So he married a number of Rajput princes such as Princess of Amber. His son Salim too married a Rajput princess. Akbar also gave the Rajput high post in his army and government. Raja Dodarmal was made the finance minister. Raja Bhagwan Das of Amber and his son Man Singh were granted high rank in the army. Man Singh was made the governor of Kabul and later of Bengal and Bihar. The Rajput helped Akbar to expand his kingdom. Now, after that, the Rajput of Mewar, however, resisted Akbar in 1567 to 68. Akbar captured the fort of Chittor from Rana Udyog Singh, and in 1576 he defeated Udyog Singh's son Rana Pratap at Haldighati. Though defeated, Rana Pratap escaped on his horse Chetak and continued his resistance throughout his life. Now next is about Akbar conquest. Akbar conquered Gujarat, Bengal, Kabul, Kashmir, Sindh, and Sikandar. He also conquered Orissa and the northern Deccan. His empire stretched from the Himalayas and Kashmir in the north to the river Godavari in the south, and from Kandahar in the west to Bengal in the east. Akbar died in 1605. He was buried at Sikandra near Agra. His son Salim succeeded him to the throne. Now is Akbar's administration. Central administration. So in these two type of administration are there, central and the provisional. So first of all we are going to discuss about the central administration. At the helm of all affair was Emperor Akbar, who was a benevolent ruler. He was the highest tribunal of justice and gave personal hearing to people's. He personally went on tours and transferred officers frequently to check the corruption and promote efficiency. The emperor was assisted by a council of ministers. The most important minister was the Wazir, or we call also the Prime Minister, who was also called the Diwan, since he was the head of the revenue and finance department. The king met his officers in his Diwan-e-Khas, as a hall made for the meeting. Next is the provisional administration. So the empire was divided into provinces. Each province was placed under a governor called Subedar. The subas were divided into districts or sarkars. Then again the sarkar were divided into paragans, and they were having number of villages. The towns were administered by kotwals, whose duty was to maintain law and order, check weight and measure, and maintain a register of people living in the area. Now we are discussing about revenue. So land was the chief source of revenue. Akbar's land revenue policy was framed by Raja Dodarmal. A system of land assessment was introduced by which the average produced and average price prevailing over the last 10 years were calculated. Todarmal fixed the state share at one third of the average produce of the land. Revenue could be paid in cash or kind. Farmers could get loan from the states. So this was about revenue. Now we will discuss the trade. So to promote trade, Akbar built a network of roads and removed certain taxes on the trade. The conquest of Gujarat and Bengal gave him access to seaport and the overseas trade with Arabia, Europe, Southeast Asia, and China. Foreign trade fetched high profit and was controlled by the state. The most important item of export from India were spices, textiles, indigo. In 1600, Queen Elizabeth of England granted permission to a company of merchants to trade with the East. This company came to be known as the English East India Company. Now next topic is our Akbar's cultural contribution. So first we will learn his contribution in learning and literature. So Akbar mixed freely with the Hinduism, Sufism and foreigners. This made him tolerant of all culture. Akbar patronized talented persons from all sections of the society. So in learning and literature, Akbar never received formal education. In spite of this, he was a great pattern of learning. He encouraged moral education and the study of mathematics, astronomy, logic, and history. It is believed that Akbar library had more than 4,000 manuscripts. Akbar had the Mahabharata and the Ramayana translated into Persian. So there was one person, Abul Faiz, who was Akbar's close friend. He wrote Akbarnama, a biography of Akbar. Faiz wrote poem in Persian. Birbal also wrote poems and was known for its wits and humor. Bairam Khan, son Abdur Rahim Khan A Khanan, composed dohas in Hindi. Tulsidas, who wrote Ramcharitmanas, was another noted Hindi scholar of that time. Next is music. According to Abu Faiz, Akbar patronized more than 30 musicians. Tansin of Gwalior was an expert in the Hindustani style of music. He is said to have composed Raga Darbari in Akbar's honor. Next is third heading in that we are reading about painting. Painting from different regions of India like Kashmir, Gwalior, Gujarat and Deccan worked in Akbar Tasveer Khana. Usually hunting scene and scene from the royal court were painted. Bright colored like peacock, blue and red were popular. Basavan and Daswant were two great painters of Akbar's time. Next is about architecture. The architectures of Akbar region was influenced by Indian, Persian, and Central Asian style. The chief material used was red sandstone. Humayun tomb in Delhi, built by Humayun's widow, was constructed during Akbar region. Akbar built a new city at Fatehpur Sikri. He also built the Agra fort. Next is Akbar's social reforms. Akbar treated all religious groups equally. Akbar tried to remove social evils. Akbar took steps to check polygamy, child marriage, and the practice of sati. He made widow remarriage legal. He also tried to resist the sale of liquor. He abolished the pilgrim tax and jizya, which were tax payable by non-Muslim. He even celebrated certain Rajput festivals. Akbar greatly respected Sufi Sant Salim Chishti and Ramdas, the fourth Sikh Guru. He granted Guru Ramdas a plot of land in Amritsar on which the Sikh shrine Sri Harmandir Sahib was later built. Akbar built a hall called the Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur Sikri. Here all scholars of all religions met for free and open religious discussion. Akbar tried to combine the good points of all religions into single faith called Din Ilahi. However, Din Ilahi attracted very few people and disappeared after Akbar's death. Now last, this Akbar's greatness. Akbar is properly known as Akbar the Great. He not only built a vast empire but also made it the most powerful empire of the period. He was indeed one of the greatest rulers ever to have ruled over India. So this we have discussed about the Mughal Empire. Exercise will be discussed separately in the class. So just read the chapter properly. Thank you, students.